Welcome back to the Ultimate Mixdown. Now, what would a music channel be without some songwriting tutorials? I wanted to take the decades of learned experiences that I've collected over the years and the thousands of songs that I've analyzed to show you the foundation and building blocks of writing a song in this How to Write a Song mini-series. We'll start from scratch. Whether you play an instrument or not, doesn't matter. We'll find ways to write a song. If you have a melody in your mind, if you have words in your head, you'll have a way to write it down on paper, build it out, craft it into a nice, complete song that you can share with your friends and the rest of the world. So in this video, we're going to discuss the age-old question of, do I write the melody first or do I write the lyrics first? This is a dilemma that's been plaguing songwriters from the beginning of time. If you're having trouble deciding on which to start with first, this is the video for you. Let's dive right in. Now, the first thing I have to say is, if you already have a melody in your mind, or you already have some of the lyrics in your mind, start with that first. Anytime you're in a creative mode, go with it, work with it. This is your creative time. Write it all down, and then you can reassess, where do I go from here? Now, in this situation, we're talking about you're ready to start up that next Billboard 100 song, but you just don't know where to start. Now, let's start with the reasons why you should write the lyrics first. Well, first off, by writing out the words, you can identify the subject of the song much easier than you can just by humming a melody. And once you have the subject defined, it'll be a lot easier to figure out the direction of the song and the way that the song should go based on that subject. One can set the tone and emotion that should be represented by the music. In some cases, you might be writing a song for a very specific reason, like maybe a scene to a movie, and you know how that scene's going to go, you know the emotion attached to it, and then you can paint a poetic picture just by using words and then decide where your lyrics are going to go from there. Now, the next reason you might want to start with the lyrics is because the lyrics can set the poetic format of your song. And by this, I mean the meter and the certain patterns that your song is going to follow, any rhyming schemes that you use, basically identifying the rhythmic elements in your vocal line. So if you figure out the kind of pattern that your lyrics are going, maybe it's A, B, A, B, or A, A, B, B, this can help you craft the way that the words flow. And then this can really help you decide on which direction you want the instruments to follow. And then lastly, starting with the lyrics first allows you to be open-minded with the melodies. You have the words on the page ready to go, and you can use that to try out different melodies, swapping in and out, seeing which melodies are the best ones to emphasize what you're trying to come across with in your words. Now, here are some reasons why you should start with the melody. Now, this first one is a big one. It's often easier to fit words to a melodic progression than it is to have to adjust the rhythmic elements and the notes of a melody to perfectly match the lyrics. For many songwriters, they pick up a guitar, or they sit down at a piano, or they're playing a beat on their computer, and that's essentially setting the mood for them. By listening to the chords, you get a sense of what notes the melody contain, and it's a natural next step to listen to the music and start humming something that goes in line. Now, another reason to start with the melody, many writers want to feel the music to help generate the emotions that go into the craftiness and metaphorization that go into a well-written song. So by feeling the music emotionally, you're able to think of more metaphorical situations that you can use to help get across the message that you're trying to say. Now, another reason to start with the melody first, you can get creative in the musical process without hitting a wall trying to find the perfect words to capture the exact emotions that you're feeling. Oftentimes when we write lyrics, we get stuck on finding the perfect words, and that slows us down. By starting with the melody, we can at least figure out the direction in which the notes and the rhythm are going to go so that we can later get into the nitty-gritty of filling out that puzzle using our words. Now, strong opinion alert, and many people may disagree with this one, but I know more that would agree. The melody is the most important part of the song. Think of old hit songs by artists that you're familiar with, even artists that you're not very familiar with, but ones that you've heard of before. What's the first thing that comes to mind when you try to think of a song that they wrote? Most likely, you're going to start humming the melody of a song. You might not know all the words, they might not come to you without looking it up, but you can be sure that you probably know the melody. In addition to that, one of the things that gets stuck in people's minds the most, that might even be driving you crazy, is an addictive melody. Now, before we get into the decision of whether we should write the melody or the lyrics first, I'd like to talk about reasons why you should start with the rhythm first. A strong groove or bass line can move somebody and spark creativity almost immediately. Think of Another One Bites the Dust by Queen, or Billie Jean by Michael Jackson. You're almost immediately drawn to the song, feeling the movement. Maybe the first time you heard it, you're not picking up all the words, you're not really paying attention to the melody, but that rhythmic section is driving you the entire song. And if you're starting with just a rhythmic pattern, you can take your DAW and record or program a simple drum beat or bass line that you have in your head, or you can just start tapping your hands and playing the drums on whatever's in front of you. You'd be surprised with how your mind interprets the rhythm and starts to write the notes and the lyrics as you're tapping away. So we've discussed 3 different ways of writing the vocal line for the song, one with the lyrics, one with the melody, and even one with the rhythm. Now, which one should you start with? Well, for me, it's the melody. As I mentioned before, strong opinion, the melody is the most important part of the song. I almost always grab my guitar or sit at my keyboard and I'll start playing a simple chord progression. Almost every time that I'm strumming or almost every time that I'm playing the chords, a melody starts popping in my head before any words. I find it much easier to sit in the lyrics with the melody, kind of like a puzzle where you already have the outsides done and now you're placing the inner pieces, than having to craft a musical flow around the words that are already written. For example, the inner parts of the puzzle are created, and now you're crafting a perfect border around them. The biggest thing I want to emphasize is there's no wrong way to start. In fact, the worst thing you can do is not start. If you're hitting your head against the wall because you've got major writer's block, start drumming out a pattern. Start with the rhythm. Pick up your guitar. Start playing chords. Play the same 4 chords you play in every other song. Most songwriters, this is how they start. They pick up the guitar, they sit at a piano, they play familiar chords in a progression that they're familiar with. They start humming different melodies. They start going through different rhythms. Words will pop up here and there. They'll write those words down. They'll get back to the melody. If you don't play an instrument, go into your DAW, pull up a drum beat, pull up an instrumental, or write out or draw in some notes on a virtual instrument that you can use as a foundation. They can be just bass notes, right? Just 1 bar per note, 4 different notes in a progression that you think sounds nice. Stick around to learn more from the Ultimate Mixdown. I really appreciate having you with me today, and I can't wait to see you in the next video.